Here's how you can feel just how damn thin this phone is for yourself. Grab a deck of cards, then cut that deck in half. This is about the width of an iPhone 16 Pro or an S25 Ultra. But if you then cut that half in half, just leaving a few extra cards in, that's the width of the S25 Edge. That is a damn slim phone and something you can hold in the real world. Just remember that cards bend and phones hopefully don't. I'm Becca, I take tech outside. This is my journey to take 1,000 photos with the S25 Edge to see how it holds up as a camera, but more importantly, how it holds up in the real world. Let's get into it. Are you kidding me? iPod knockoff with the micro SD? What? It's like a squishy artichoke. Disappointed. There's been so much talk about why this phone exists, and I'll tell you why. It's because, get your typing fingers ready, size matters. Okay, I know I walked right into that one, but truly, this phone is far more enjoyable to use because it feels so slim and light. Like, it's small to the point that I forget what pocket it's in, and I've been keeping it in this front pocket of my overalls, and every time I lean over, it goes toppling out because I just forget it's there, which, shout out to durability. Now, with that slimmed down size does come some compromises. Like, picking it up off a table means you really have to pinch the sides. And that camera bump on the back, matched with the lightweight design, creates a very rocky experience when you use it on a flat surface. It also means that there are battery trade-offs, but I'll get to that in a bit. Most importantly for me, there's a camera trade-off here too.
We're not doing it.
The $1,100 S25 Edge's camera is a fusion of the cameras in the S25 lineup. It has the 200 megapixel main sensor from the Ultra, the 12 megapixel ultra-wide from the S25 and S25 Plus, and the same 12 megapixel selfie cam from across the lineup. The only thing missing is a telephoto lens. Instead, the device relies on a digital zoom feature with loads of sharpening. When compared to the Ultra's telephoto lenses, there is no denying that digital zooming simply is not as good as optically zooming. I gotta admit, I really miss having a telephoto lens. The compression is just like, so good. You can get so much closer, and like when I'm out in the woods and in the country like this, that makes a difference. It makes a big difference, and I miss it. And that is all. Welcome to New York. The main sensor, however, performs exactly the same as the S25 Ultras, because it is the same sensor. Which is to say that in great light, this camera is truly impressive. It doesn't look like it's raining, but I can confirm that it is raining. It has nice contrast levels, a solid amount of saturation, and nothing feels over-sharpened. I just like the photos that come out of this thing. But as soon as you get into a lower light situation, everything seems to fall apart, especially when shooting video, where the stabilization gets jittery and colors start to flicker, not to mention the massive amount of smoothing that's going on here. On a camera UI note, Samsung, I have a slight bone to pick with you. This is the native Samsung camera app, and if you go to the video section, which is here, you'll notice that you can only shoot in 30 and 60 frames per second. So in order to get 24 frames per second, you have to go to the video tab, which I put on my main bar, and then you could shoot in 24 frames per second. But you cannot change lenses in this mode. You cannot reverse the camera in this mode while shooting. See, once I start shooting, I don't have the option to flip the camera around, which you can do in the normal video mode. It does, however, prove that even Samsung knows 24 frames per second is more pro. Alright, but I want to be a Becca video if we can compare this phone to at least one or two others. So let's start with the iPhone 16 Pro, which I think most of my friends would consider the gold standard of a camera on a mobile device. The differences between these two cameras is so subtle at this point. Sometimes the iPhone has a little bit more saturation, sometimes the Samsung does, but with a little bit of fixing in post, you can make these cameras look identical. The only difference is on the hardware side now, where the S25 Edge does not have that telephoto lens that the iPhone does. But the S25 Ultra does not have nearly as many reflections at night. Alright, and then there was one other device I was keen to compare this S25 Edge to. It is another Android device that also has two lenses. Isn't as slim, but is pretty small. It's the Pixel 9a. It's less than half of the price of the S25 Edge, but it doesn't hold on to nearly as much contrast, and it's far less predictable. Sometimes it brings saturation down, sometimes it brings it up, sometimes it's warm, sometimes it's cool, whereas the S25 Edge is far more consistent. Sometimes you do get what you pay for. Okay, but as much as I love being nitpicky about cameras, I don't think anyone is buying this device because of its two protruding lenses. But that's what I love about the 1000 Photo series, is that it's more about the amount of time that it takes to take that many photos and videos. videos, because in that time, I learn a lot about a device. For example, I've unlocked this thing hundreds of times and can tell you with a lot of confidence that Samsung's Face Unlock is still terrible, especially in low light. You'll want to use your fingerprint here. So the talk of the internet is that Samsung went with a lithium-ion battery in the Edge instead of a silicon-carbon battery. This lithium-ion battery, it only has a capacity of 3,900 milliamp hours. And coming from the S25 Ultra, which has been my daily driver for a few months now, this battery, it feels small. If I'm at my desk, working throughout the day on my computer, I could make it through a day and still have enough juice to do the nighttime scroll. But if I'm out and about taking a lot of photos, being the power user that I am, this phone definitely needs what I call the afternoon nap or plug-in. The other thing I noticed coming from the Ultra is that you can charge that phone from 0 to 100 in under an hour, and then you have a 5,000 milliamp hour battery fully charged that lasts me like a day and a half. Whereas this phone only has 25 watt super fast charging. So it takes about over an hour, and then you only get about a day of use. The charge time to battery life ratio just isn't that great. I wouldn't consider this battery life a deal breaker. I think the internet is overreacting slightly, as it usually does, but you will have to be conscious of your battery life and make sure that you're charged before you leave home. And then there are a few other things I've noticed in my 1,000 photos journey with the S25 Edge, and first and foremost, it's AI. Samsung devices are deeply integrated with Google's Gemini, and it is amazing how much more capable it has gotten, specifically Gemini's live video feature.
That looks like a tree of heaven sapling. Those little purple flowers are called Veronica persica.
I use this a lot. Instead of having to describe something via text, you can just point your camera at it and Gemini will answer any questions you have. Although it is still wrong a lot. What kind of tree is behind me?
That's a tree of heaven. They're considered invasive in many places, so it's a good idea to remove them.
Are you sure that this
musclewood.
tree is what you said it is?
I'm so sorry for the confusion. I think it's an American beech tree.
I also want to take a moment to talk about Android, because I know that 30% of folks who watch my content on a mobile device are watching it on an iOS device. And to all of you, I say go try Android. It has gotten so good in the last few years. I've been running One UI 7 and Android 15 on this device, and of course it is incredibly customizable. But also, it's worth talking about RCS. It has solved so many of those group messaging problems that all of you blue bubble people love to talk about. Move on. Find something more interesting to talk about when it comes to Android versus iOS. I'm so sick of this conversation. And yes, you can text from your computer depending on what messaging service you're using. The only thing I miss from iOS when I'm driving Android is AirDrop, because I work off a Mac, and FaceTime. But using a USB-C cable solves the first problem, and I just, FaceTime from my computer to solve the second one. All right, now let's talk about durability. I've been rocking this device for nearly 2 weeks, but if you know me, you know I don't treat my devices like museum pieces, and I typically don't use cases either. I've dropped the Edge a few times. I've also had it in pockets with keys, I've slid it across bar tops. So far, so good. Again, it hasn't been a terribly long time, but it's worth noting that it has the same titanium frame on the sides and Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on the back as the S25 Ultra. And I've been driving that phone for many months without a case, and it shows no signs of wear. The difference is the front glass though, which is Gorilla Glass Armor 2 on the Edge and Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2 on the Ultra, which means that the Edge does not have the anti-reflective coating. And I've gotten a couple of small scratches on this front glass in my time with the device. I think this will be a phone I put a screen protector on. All right, what about heat? I've heard other reviewers who have run into overheating issues that have affected performance. That has not happened to me. The phone does get toasty to the touch, especially when charging or when filming for long periods of time. But yeah, it hasn't caused any performance issues for me. Lastly, we need to talk about price. $1,100 is incredibly expensive for a device that has a 3,900 milliamp hour battery, only has 2 cameras, has the same processor that is in many other Samsung devices that are much cheaper. So yeah, you're paying for aesthetics here, and I can confirm that this phone feels really small and good in your hands. But if you just need a device that works well and takes decent photos, I think I've proven to you that there are many cheaper options available. As always, I'd wait a few months, maybe do a trade-in deal, buy it used. You can definitely get this phone cheaper than full price. But God, it is pretty. It really is pretty. Oh, and if you do get one, don't you dare put a case on this. Well, I don't know, maybe you should put a case on it. I won't be putting a case on it, but also, you don't want to be like me. There are some scratches on the screen already. But if you put a case on it, totally ruins the whole, super thin aesthetic. I guess that's everyone's own personal battle. I'm Becca. If you like this, subscribing would mean the world. I appreciate you so much, bud. I hope you're well, and I'll see you in the next one.